It's going on, that's great. Let's come on, you know each other, that's great. And hopefully by the end of the evening, we'll know more people here, because that's what this is about. Ever since we started doing this, my son and I, it has brought us about 30% more business, just talking about what we do. Okay, of course we have another arm of this where we've been teaching investors, got all of my students here tonight too. But this is networking, and this is what we found out after doing this for 26 years. And I was always afraid of giving my secrets out, right? I wouldn't even market my stuff in the Bay Area. Then I found out there's really no competition but yourself in whatever you do. Of course, what we do in probate real estate is even better because most people don't know what they're doing. That fool with probate real estate, done a probate deal, excuse me, and maybe it didn't go very well for them or whatever. But after 26 years of doing this, for you have not looked at probate real estate, you're in the right place. We got a bunch in here that have been doing deals with me already. Ty and Ray are brokers from the other side of the bay, or other side of the hill. We're in deals right now. David, we just completed a flip for him. And he met Johan here, who's doing this project management, the network group. It's great. And doing deals is what this is about. So tonight we're excited because we do this once a month. And most of it is, we'll take a topic in probate and we'll dissect it here. Because we have a 2-day thing that we do with probate. You just can't give all the information out. So I break it up in these webinars that we do monthly. Or we'll do a meetup like this and we'll talk about specifics of the probate or what we do. But for those that are looking at this at the first time, when this is done tonight, when we have our speakers finished, we're going to let them go first. Then I'll talk about what we do with probates and how we earn 5 different ways with it. And I think that's what a lot of you wanted to come and find out, right? And how you can get part of that. And also, we're honored to have Old Republic Title here tonight. We're going to introduce them in a minute. I've been with these particular great escrow people, and I'll introduce them in a minute. I won't give their names up yet. For over 10 years, they're one of 2 companies that I do business with. They're going to give you some shortcuts of what they do. Their arms are open if you want to bring your business to them, especially your probate business, because they'll take care of you in your first few deals, okay? And then we have FJM Mortgage Fund is here tonight. And a good friend of mine, Lewis, has done many deals for me in the probate business. We also give an option to the estate if they need money out of that estate, that we can arrange for them to pull money out, even though the probate is not done. A little bit more on that later. But one of the lenders that I use is Louis Barnes from FJM Mortgage Fund. He couldn't be here tonight, but his partner is Franco. He's going to come up and talk a little bit about what they do. And when you're in deals and you need money, the hard money industry has changed. And you can get financing for your deals very easy today. And as you get more seasoned in this and do more deals, you can actually get 80 to 100% of your projects financed. So Franco, why don't you come on up for a moment, please? We'll put you on the spot here. I want to thank you for filling in for Lewis and Franco. I know these guys, they have done so many deals, and I see them everywhere. Wherever I go at meetups and talk, so that's what I make note of. Who's at the meetups, who's doing business, that's who I want to know. And Lewis and I got together and we did a couple deals now. We've known each other for about a year. He financed an estate I was doing, and he got the PR, all their cash out of the deal to go buy another house cash up in the mountains. And he still had 6 months left in the probate to go. That's fantastic if you can do that, because that'll get you the deal, and you can talk to them and maybe there's some other people talking. And you can show them how they can do it. So Franco, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you again.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. So we'll get the slideshow here. And so yeah, Gary mentioned Lewis. I'm an originator at FJM Capital. My name is Franco. I've got another slide here about our services. We have a packet going around. I'm just going to speak for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, a little bit about what we do and some value add at the end about what we've done last month and where people are finding deals. And sort of what the median purchase price for some of our investors are in those areas. And so in this packet that you, hopefully some of you have in front of you, you'll hear a little bit about our fund. We've been around since 2012. We're a direct lender, so we don't broker any of our deals to anyone. So That makes it a little bit easier on the points, and it makes it a lot easier to work with us because we don't have to have multiple lines of communication to the investors. We have about 160 million in our NCM funds 1 through 7 with an institutional investor. We have about 80 million in a private mortgage fund that just rotates. Every time something pays off, we can invest it in your next deal. We have about 105 million right now currently invested. That's our servicing portfolio right now. We do first deeds of trust, so we take the first position loan on your deal, and they're generally non-owner occupied properties. So for an investor property, that's going to be pretty typical for you guys. If you go to the next page, it's a little bit about our terms. I get questions all the time. What are your terms? It's probably the most popular question. Generally, we're at 65% of cost. If it's a new purchase, we're going to be at about 70% of the purchase price. Our interest rate's about 10%, and these are generally pretty short-term loans since if you're going to be flipping a property, it shouldn't take you more than 24 months, hopefully. So we're generally 6 to 24 months on our terms, and we have 2 to 3 points on the front end for a loan fee. Our loans are up to $4 million, so that should be plenty on any of the deals that you guys are working on. And the last thing you see on that page in your general terms is that we make the decision. So again, we're a direct lender, and if someone calls me to do a deal, and it's something we want to do, and I say, we're going to do the deal, you can be really confident we're going to do the deal. Because we have full discretion over those funds. There's some examples of some recent deals just to give you an idea of where we're doing deals, what our loan amounts are for some of those deals. These are some of the bigger ones. I'd say our average loan amount's about $400,000, but we have some bigger ones on here. But you can see the LTV, 65%, 55%, some as high as 72% when we're totally maxed out. But generally, they're about 70% of your purchase price would be our loan amount. People always ask, okay, I've got the deal, it's in contract, what do I need to do the loan with you? We're private money lenders, so our paperwork is going to be much, much thinner than a bank. All we need is a loan application, a preliminary report, and a purchase contract. And all three of those things should be pretty easy for each of you to produce if you have a deal. Because of that minimum amount of paperwork, we can generally close in about 3 to 5 business days. If you have the prelim ready to go, it's closer to 3 business days. So that's really attractive if you're putting in an offer and you want to say do a 10-day close. That works for us. So enough about the fund. I just want to give you guys some general idea of what kind of deals we're doing, what we're doing out there. Last month, in the month of October, we did $17 million, and we did, I think, about 40 loans. You guys can count it in the packet here, but in the October county, it says in the title, I have a little bar graph here, and it shows you some of the counties where we're doing deals. And so, of the 40 deals that we've done last month, you can see the highest volume we're done in Alameda and Contra Costa. So right here in this area in the East Bay. We've also done 7 in Sacramento, that's our 3rd highest, and some in Santa Clara as well. Another item that I thought would be valuable for you guys is just what are the median sales prices in those areas that our investors are purchasing for. So in Alameda and Contra Costa, Sacramento, and Santa Clara are 4 highest volume areas. In October, I've listed the median sale purchase price for investors in those areas. So you guys can have a general idea. Of course, the bed bath mix isn't in there, the square footage isn't in there, the exact location isn't in there, but you guys have a general idea of what you may be paying in those areas and what our investors are hopefully purchasing at a certain amount of cents on the dollar are purchasing in those areas for. So I send kind of in October, November, a monthly newsletter out for all of you that has information just like this that I think is useful. I keep it up to date, and if you think this is useful, please come give me your business card at the end, and I'll make sure I add you to that monthly newsletter list. And you'll get data like this on a regular basis, so you can use that for your investing decisions along the way. Thank you. Come talk to me afterwards if you guys have any questions.
All right. So make sure in your package that I just rudely put out in front of Franco, I forgot. I thought you needed these, but you had your own. So sorry for getting in front of you. But there is going to be a test. You can't leave unless you pass tonight, so make sure you guys are listening, okay? Got some good stuff. So, but just to add to what Franklin said, I've done hard money loans in my business for 40 years and dealt with like one family for about 15 of those years. And hard money loans can be your best friend. People get, they're a little leery of them because it might be a little bit higher interest rate and you pay a few more points than an 8-paper loan, but it's all relative because you're building in the deal your costs for those. So it doesn't make any sense. If you can't do the deal because you want an 8-paper loan and it just won't work for that property, what are you going to do? You're going to pass on the property. So these companies are so valuable for your business, and the ones that take the time to come out and meet you, you really want their information in your portfolio because they're going to make you money. And I haven't seen a hard money lender that actually bombards me with more information than I can actually use like they do once you're in their system. And everything I come back to sooner or later that, hey, that's what they were talking about. So it's great. Thank you guys. Thanks again. Say thank you to Lewis for coming out. They're also our co-sponsor tonight, so really appreciate that. We keep these meetups free for you guys, so you don't have to spend any money and come and learn something. So the sponsors like this help, defray the cost. So it's very important. But more important is the information. So make sure we get a business card from everybody up here. I'm going to give away a few things tonight that'll be valuable to you. So if you don't have a business card, write on a piece of paper, drop it in this box before we do it, okay? So next, it's my pleasure to introduce a couple ladies that I've been working with for a long time. Very valuable to my probate business and soon yours if you take probate serious, or even your general real estate business. It's very tough to have people that you can count on all the time and watch your back. Especially in the probate business, we're dealing with estate attorneys. Becca will talk about that in a moment, but first, some of the new tools that are available for your general real estate business, not just your probate business that you hopefully are going to get involved with. Everything's so high tech today, and I'm kind of a tech dinosaur, and luckily I have my son that knows this stuff. But Carmen is going to come up and talk about, I use this with my evaluations that I do on my probates when I'm on a piece of property and I'm checking it. We use this service when we have a probate lead service that we'll talk about tonight that most of my students are on. We scrub titles with this. We do valuations with this that helps us, and it's a free tool, and when you do business with somebody like that provides you that information, it's very valuable. And I use it every week, so it's upgrading again now. I think, what's at the end of this month?
The end of the year.
Okay, it's going to upgrade.
Use it now.
Carmen will talk about that. So I want to introduce Carmen Deutschman, who's going to come up and talk about all this stuff that's in your booklet here. So let's give Carmen a hand for being here tonight. Carmen is done. We're going to bring Becca up for a few words about probate, how she can help you guys there. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening.
Good evening.
So we handed out a folder that has some information in the Old Republic title folder. So there's a little bio on myself and Becca, but I've been with Old Republic for a little over 5 years. I come from the high-tech background, so it was an easy transition for me at the time. It's been a while, so I love the technology, and Old Republic has really been the guiding force to this technology and helping you to work with your real estate business and giving you some good tools. So I'm going to go ahead and go through a slide, and if you guys have any questions while I'm going through the slide, please stop me. I'll feel free to ask any questions. So, as you know, we went through a really hard transition back in 2005, 2006 with a lot of title companies closing down. Old Republic has been around for over 105 years. We're very strong, and we have a really strong financial background. So I think that if you work with Old Republic, you will be happy with our services. with our financial background, and we have some of the best products, some of the best escrow officers in the title industry. Digital tools. Our tools are incredible. We continue to provide products, services, and high technology to our customers so that we make your job easy when you're searching for certain data. The benefits of our products will allow you to be responsive to all your customer needs, whether it's in the probate side, on the residential side, or the commercial side. We know that you guys work not only from 8 to 5. You need access 24 hours, 7 days a week. The beauty about OverPublic is you can go on our website anytime, throughout the day, throughout the evening, to place your orders, to use our products for farming, for searching, so you have access to our products all the time. And it's really nice is that you will get an escrow number immediately once you place an order. And then you also, once the order is placed, when the escrow is started, you will also get emails throughout the timeline with all the milestones for your escrow. The benefits of using me as an account executive is I try to be real responsive, as Gary and I have worked together. When he emails me, when he calls me, I know that his time is valuable. So I try to respond to you within an hour to 2 hour response time via email or a call. And then farming will take maybe a day at the most. Do you guys have any questions at this point? I will go into more detail as the slides as we continue on our tools. So this is the new robust title profile. So this is the home page, and the only way that you'll be able to get access through our products is that you have to give me your business card. I would register you, and it starts with having access to your desktop, and then you will have access to all our apps. And the apps are also just amazing because we have the OR Calc, the OR Touch, and the OR Connect. And I'll go through those a little later. So this would be the next screen once you get on. As you can see, this is where you would open your order. Let me see if I can. You would open your new order here, you would click on that, and then you would start putting it in either on the buyer side or seller side. The next tab would be you can review your current orders. So all the orders that you open, you can actually go back and look at the history of when you opened the order, when your order closed. It goes down to the order history. Account settings would be setting up your preferences to what you would want. Disclosure options, and then this is the new title profile. This is where you go in to start your search. Here you can email me if you have any farming questions or any questions. You can go directly and email me here. And then also your escrow officer. And then you can start if you have, especially in the evenings, you can start your online net sheets. The other tab is Fee Navigator, Who Pays, the GFE calculator, amortization calculation. And this is the one area that Gary uses a lot for his searching for the probate. So you would go into this area, and on the top up here, you can search by owner name, site address, mail address, or intersection if you don't know exactly the area or the owner's name.
So in other words, you can have, in essence, excuse me, in essence, go down the street, go from a corner, an intersection, and then backtrack down.
Yeah, and it'll give you an overhead of the, like an aerial map, and it'll show all the homes, and then you'll be able to click on that one plot map of the aerial of the home, and it'll give you the information. So here's where I'm talking about. So there's two ways where you can actually pull up. So if this is the little red pin, which you can hit the reports right there, and it'll bring up all the reports, or you can go down to this area, click on it, and you'll pull up all the information. So this is the screen that you would get. You would in the beginning, when you're first using our tool, it's important that you just leave everything checked and then review all the information. So you would get the property profile, the quick line comps, and then you have the detailed comps. You have the plot map. Transaction history is a key, because that you're going to get the history of the property, of how many times they refinance, the deeds. And then you'll have a last box which will be the neighbors. And then over on this side is where you can actually, if you don't want to get any of this information, you would click on this and you would get all the list of all the deeds immediately.
You mentioned two different comps. Can you explain this?
Yeah, so the one line comp, it just will have the address, and it'll have like bedrooms, bath, and the property, what it's sold for. So it'll just be a quick one line, and it'll list them all. Let me just answer his question, and then I'll go into your question. And then the detailed comps will go into more like the bedrooms and baths, the date of the transaction. It gives you almost like a little bit more like a property profile, but it gives you just more information.
Yeah.
Okay. Now these are the milestones that you can set up on your own page that throughout the transaction of the escrow. If you want to receive when the order was opened, you'll get an email. When the preliminary report comes to you, you'll get an email and the preliminary report. So these are kind of milestones throughout the transaction that it's really kind of nice for you guys to know that where you're at without having to call back up to find out where's the transaction. Have they come and made the deposit? So these are really nice milestones to have. Now these are our apps. We have 3 incredible apps, and I mean I can't say enough about them. Every time I've downloaded one for an agent, they just love them. So one of the popular ones is the OR Touch. The OR Touch is virtually, you have it on, you would download it for either an iPhone or an Android. You have access to the same thing on our desktop version, but on your phone. So the property profile, the comps, the transaction history, the plot map, everything you need with your phone. We just upgraded it, so now when you're in front of the home, you can take a picture of the house and you'll get all the information without even typing in the address or the owner's name, which is pretty cool. Yeah, really, really cool. The OR Connect, so let me go to the next page because we have a more. So here's the OR Touch, and you're getting the exact same information that I mentioned. And this is the camera, where you would take a picture of the house. And I tried it in some of the more rundown homes, and it always worked. Wow. So it's pretty cool. And then we have the OR Connect, which you have the availability to pull up all our escrow fees, who pays what in the different counties. You have access to also open your order on your phone, email Becca directly. I mean, nowadays you should be able to do everything on your phone to do your job, and we make it easy for you guys to do that.
That's a little scary. These phones aren't that secure.
Well, I think that it's.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you to protect yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
the website's secured, right? So we're actually
Yeah,
going to your website.
our website is secure. Yeah. So it's up to you to make sure that you're not giving your phone or having people use your phone. Any questions on the O?
Good, but scary.
Right, I know, I understand. Any questions on the OR Connect? And then we have the OR Calc, which is, we have a lot of our lenders that work with us that use this to do the purchase calculator, refinance calculator, and affordability calculator, and then it also goes into the FHA, the conventional. And you virtually put in the different fees, loan type, principal, taxes, and then it will go ahead and give you, give you the calculation at the end, and you can email it directly to your client or to you.
So that's, can you go back?
Sure.
So all you do is just input, if I'm reading that correctly, the sale price, the interest rate, down payment.
No, that's the calculation. So you'll
Right,
go
that's
in.
where it says input. That's
Yeah.
the information
So-
that you input, so
And then you'll get your monthly payment that you'll
Right.
have to make on the home. Yes.
So what do you input?
So you'll put the home purchase price. You'll put in because they didn't give me the one screen that shows exactly what you're putting in. So
it says right there.
no, there's actually that's the calculate. Oh no, you're right. It is.
Right.
It's the loan type. You put in the payment, and then you have the mortgage insurance, if you know that, HOAs, hazard, and this screen looks a little different though from what it looks like. There may be an upgrade. And then you have the interest, and the actual tax is 1.25, and then it'll go ahead and give you the calculation and PMI.
Right.
Yeah. So today with a lot of our products, the only way that you can get our products is, like I said, well, I'll have to register you for the desktop version, and then really the title profile is the way to go to do your search for probates. So the way that Gary works is that he's looking at the history on the home. So he looks at who currently owns the home, and then he goes through the transaction history. And then there's at the bottom it gives kind of a low and a high of the comps. So our information is, and then from there you can access it to email it to yourself, or you can download the information, and you could utilize our resources through customer service as well. If there's something that you're not seeing through our products, please let me know. You can email me and we can do further research through our customer service. We have a quick turnaround time, so that's always important for you guys. Does anybody have any other questions?
Of course. Private money, which particular aspect of the calculator would you use for private money? Because I didn't see anything specific for private money.
We don't have, you mean for the OR calculator?
Correct.
We don't have something specific for the private money.
Just plug in you plug in your interest rate at 10 to 12%.
Yeah. So
it's right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
This might be partially Gary's question too. But how do those comps compare with the MLS?
A lot of the realtors and investors use the MLS in our website. And they compare. We have always had better comps and more comps because we're as current as the county. And a lot of the times too, if you know of a property that may have sold in the last week or two, we won't see it yet, right? Because the county is delayed, but we can also utilize our customer service in pulling that comp. Because as long as you have the address, I can go ahead and get that information as well.
So they're as good or better than MLS comps?
I'd say just today's.
What do you think, Gary?
I just said.
It's in addition.
Yeah.
So I pull everything. I pull Zillow, which we know is usually wrong, usually high.
Zillow is.
But there's a reason I do this. I pull Redfin, if anybody used those, Julia, because that's what your clients and PRs are looking at. So you have to understand the numbers they're looking at, so you know when you go to MLS and use this source that I use exclusively with my MLS, because it gives me, I get the detailed comps, it gives me proximity from the subject, it gives me price per square foot, a bunch of things that I like to do, because when I build in my presentation, I'm using all this. Now I know what they're thinking, what they're seeing, and I know what the real numbers are, and I explain to them that this is high. So this is an addition. It's a great tool that I do, and I'll explain a little bit more why when I talk in a minute, okay?
Thanks.
Okay. So now I'm going to introduce Becca Rollins. Now, oh, do you have a question? So I'm going to have Becca come up here, and Becca is the escrow officer that helps Gary do all the probate side of the escrow services. So, Becca?
Gary made a mistake when I first walked in and said, "Do you need a microphone?" And I said, "I am Italian. I do not need a microphone." So,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
so Gary and I have been working together about 10 years now, I think.
A little over 10, yeah.
Yeah, I've been in the East Bay for 13 years. 19 years before I was with San Francisco Old Republic. And so I've been doing this a little while, but I've started at a very young age, so I'm very young. So one of the key things with the probates, I do a variety of types of transactions. Probates is one of my favorite. I do like the whole dealing with attorneys and clients and the realtors and getting the deals closed. But we also do commercial, do short sales, we do residential, obviously, do units. So whatever type of transaction, we probably can handle it for you because we've seen it at one point in time. But the key for us is, and for me specifically, is I want your deals to go smoothly. That is my biggest thing, is I want the deal to be smooth for my clients and for their clients. So the realtors coming into me know that I'm going to be working hard on their transactions to make sure everything goes well. One of the things Gary and I started to do that we felt, let's streamline this, let's see how we can avoid pitfalls later on, is to contact the attorney up front. So when the attorney is going to need to give us a packet of things, we need to be proactive. So Gary and I would talk ahead of time and say, well, give me the contract, Gary, give me your letter that you need to send to the attorney, and we would get our paperwork together. In that, I would put together my own package as well. So Gary knows that when we are dealing with the attorney from day one, there's a variety of things that we're going to need. There is a sheet in your folders that lists all those items, so you don't have to memorize, you don't have to write this down. But basically, if I get those things up front, we're going to have less trouble, less delays later on. And that's going to make it a smoother transaction for all of us. So one of the key things that we need to do is establish who are we going to be dealing with? Who's our executor of the estate? And a lot of times that's the person who's contacted you and said, I need to sell my mom's house, I'm the executor, and this is the attorney I'm working with. So let's get through the paperwork we need to get through and make it go smooth. So the letters testamentary will tell us who the appointed person is. And so if it's John Smith, and John Smith lives in Missouri, we need to know that kind of information, because we know we're not dealing with somebody necessarily locally that we're going to have right here to come in and sign papers. So Gary and I will talk about those types of items ahead of time and make sure we get them. The attorney will then provide me with the letters testamentary. It has to be certified by the courts, and that is something that I actually have to record at the county. So I want to get that up front. I also need a letter from the attorney being very specific on certain items that we need to make sure are done before we can actually legally close the transaction. So there could be 14 heirs to this estate that I'm dealing with John Smith. I don't know these 14 heirs. How do I make sure that they're covered, that they're not objecting? Well, the attorney sends out a letter. They send out a notice of proposed action to tell these heirs that Gary's got this transaction for $500,000. These are the terms of the deal. Here's the contract. These heirs have a window of period to review this information and to either approve or object or don't say anything. They've got a 15-day window. So we talk about that all the time. 15-day window. So we need to plan that if you've got an all-cash buyer that wants to close in 10 days, guess what? We can't do that. We would love to do that. So that's where, together, we're getting our ducks in a row to make sure that if you do have that cash buyer, we're ready to close. So we do have the letter that he has to write for me. The attorney has to give me a letter that's going to state that he has sent out these notices to the 14 heirs and that the 15 days has passed and that the time frame has passed and we are allowed to close. So I'm looking for that in my letter. These are all things I request from the attorney. You don't have to do any of it. You just simply put me in touch with that attorney, give me the contact information, and I will run with that. Because I'll contact the attorney, I have a letter I put together, we send that up front, saying these are the items I need addressed in the letter, and then I take care of it for you. The other thing we have to make sure of is that there's no estate taxes, because you might be dealing with a $400,000 property that's being sold, but maybe the estate's over $5 million in its entirety. There could be estate taxes that I need to pay through escrow. Very rarely, but there could be. So the attorney puts in his letter that there's nothing for me to pay through escrow, and that's something that I asked him for. So we're getting all these things in a row to make sure that I've got everything I need. So once we get all this from the attorney, we also need to make sure that we have certain other things. When we close the escrow, the client needs to have an EIN number. That is a number from the IRS. So for tax purposes, we can disclose that the sale has closed with this EIN number. Now, it's not a tough process to get, but some people choose to try and obtain it themselves. You can do that online. It's pretty simple. You can Google it, and it gives you several sites to do. I would go to the IRS website. I would not use one of these other ones because for security purposes. Or in some cases, the attorney will actually help you with that. So they'll help your client. But you as the agent could know this information when you're talking to your client and say, did you get the EIN number for the estate? Because we're going to need that when we close escrow. That's going to look like you know what we need to get. Or I can contact them. I have no problem going over this with your client. I'm willing to talk to your client as much or as little as you want me to. I just don't step on your toes. So, yes.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Absolutely.
The EIN number, is that the responsibility of the executor?
Correct.
Or any of those 14 other people?
Or, well, they're not going to be doing that. It's the executor, and the attorney for the estate many times will help them get that. Many times. So, again, if you want me to talk to your client about explaining what they need to do, I'm happy to do that. Sometimes the attorney's already done that.
Okay, so the EIN number is not of the deceased, it is a separate one for the estate.
Correct. You cannot, once somebody passes, you cannot use the social. The social passes with the person. Okay, so we can't use that. So we have to get that. And I have had a couple of occasions just recently where there was a backlog. So it took about a week to get. So usually it's a couple of days, I think, is what the norm is. But I've had a couple lately where there was one that I think the person just didn't know the process. So I think it took about a week to get that.
If there are objections within that group of people, how does that work?
Well, that's what the attorney then has to go back to the realtor and deals with that. I don't deal with that part of it. Gary might have some.
It's going to end up to probably a court confirmation sale process.
And,
but normally you can get it straightened out.
The other thing is that a lot of people don't think about, the attorney usually mentions it, but I don't know if they always have it, because there have been 2 cases lately where there was no estate account. So when we close this escrow, and I've got the $400,000 in proceeds, where am I going to put it? Well, the money's going to be in the estate name. It's not going to be in John Smith, because that's not his money. It's money that's going to go to the estate. So as an escrow holder, I have to deposit the money to that person in their name, in their capacity. So as an executor of the estate, or I can wire it into an estate account. But they have to have that open. And they have to have that EIN number to go to the bank to open that account. So there's several steps and things we need to make sure are in place so that as we go through the escrow course, it's very smooth. So the attorney a lot of times will help with a lot of this, but not necessarily. So I'm happy to help intervene when necessary, And again, I'm happy to talk to any of your clients. I feel with the probates and with any of the other transactions that once we open escrow, your clients have free reign to contact me. I have clients call me all the time when they get supplemental tax bills. They don't understand. They don't get a tax bill. They got something in the mail that looks legit, but it may not be legit, but it has to do with the property. A lot of bogus things going out in the mail, as you probably know. So it's a lifetime. So once we close deals, doesn't mean I'm done with you. You can still contact me and still ask for information you may need on something else. So that's just my way of working. Any questions? No? Okay, well, I'm here to help, and I love escrow, or I wouldn't be doing it for and welcome talking to you and your clients. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we agree that's some helpful information there, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now what I want to add to that is Becca does most of this behind the scenes. We don't bother ourselves with this stuff, knowing that she's taking care of it. We're out doing deals, putting deals together. We control the probate from day one. Most of the times when we do a probate deal, the estate attorney doesn't even know the property was sold until they receive our letter and Becca's package that Monday saying, hey, we've sold the property, this is what we need, so we can close this escrow. In reality, I write every probate deal for 35 days, even though I have most of my deals are cash. Because we have the NOPA to get through, which is 20 days. In the real world, before you put a probate deal together, the heirs already know what's going on, but you still have to have the document. Your title company will ask, that's one of the three that Becca mentioned. If you're dealing with title companies that's asking for more, get a new title company. You'll see Becca. Because that's just overlay that they're doing in their own house. Okay, but what we do is all you need to close, and although it seems like it's a lot, it's really not. The letters of testamentary is the signing authority that the PR, the executor, if there's a will, or the administrator without a will, has the right to sign a grant deed that their name is not on. Does that make sense? When you're the executor or administrator, and John Smith, your uncle, died, and you're that administrator, you're not on title, how do you sign the grant deed over to the new buyer? Or if you're trying to buy that property, how do they sign it over to you? It's not going to happen. So the letters of testamentary give the executor or administrator that authority. That's what Becca takes, certified copy, and then she can close that deal. The NOPA, you can get waived sometimes. They don't like doing it a lot. I have one right now being waived. And that just means because all the heirs have talked, or it might just be one heir like this case. They don't have to do this 20-day period. So it's a form they sign, and now we're going to close this deal in 10 days. But normally it's a 35-day, we write it for 35 days, even though it's all cash. Get through your 20 days, you do your due diligence, and we're getting ready to close. Okay? All right, makes sense? Okay, so what I want you to do is go to your packets. And has everybody put a business card up here? Because I'm going to give away a few things tonight. And you're not going to have any if you don't put something in there. Okay, so if you haven't, just walk on up and do it. I want you to go to your packs to where probate real estate myths are. Okay? And we're going to talk. I realize some of you in here have never done a probate. Who has done a probate? Great. Bo has. I know Ty, Ray has. Okay, great. So basically about 5% of the room. Okay? I've closed over 400 of them. All right? That's what I do. That's what I love. I'm not saying that to push. I'm just saying that there's a reason why I've done that many. Does anybody understand why?
Yeah.
That's where the money is, guys. Okay? All right? So 26 years ago, when I started this, I was just coming out of that crunch we had back then in 82, 83, when interest rates were 23%. I don't know if anybody was in the real estate business back then, but it wasn't a fun time. Realtors were doing many crazy things to stay afloat, okay? And
I had a VA loan at 12% and was happy.
yeah, you probably were. I know. Okay, so 23%, you can imagine trying to sell a house, right? Interest rates. So anyways, make a long story short, when I started probates in 87, I didn't have anybody. mentors, nobody to bounce anything off other than a book I read. And I found it in a flea market for $2. Anybody heard of Jim Banks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found his book for $2 in the flea market. Yeah, he was selling in '87 for $180 at that time. Okay.
I just threw one out.
Yeah. Jim has come and gone. Now, Jim knows a lot about probates. He sold his company, another company took it over. But anyway, I always give thanks to Jim Bank because he's the one who actually pointed me to probates. Okay. Now, what I knew when I read that book, because I had been in the business for 14 years, that there's a lot of holes in the system. What he did do is get me to the file, court file, which we're going to talk about. And he kind of told me about the Independent Administrations of the States Act. Anybody hear that before? The IAEA?
Through your course.
Awesome. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, we're reading it. That's good. That is the law that was changed in 1987 that allows us to treat a probate like a regular sale. All right, there's two ways of probate in real estate, two ways to probate the house in California. There's the court confirmation way. Anybody familiar with that? Has anybody been through a court confirmation process? Is it a joke or what? It's a joke. Now those systems were put in place to protect the estate, but actually what they did is they handcuffed the estate. And the reason for that, they made the procedure so tough that really only cash investors or investors would be looking at those properties because, and really not your number A flip guys, but your hold investors were really the ones looking at those. Because you have to pay 90% of court appraisal, right? So if you're a flipper, that's not going to work for you, right? If you're a FHA or VA buyer, you have to put a 10% deposit up front when you're offered. Now, how do you do that when you're buying VA with no down? And maybe you're asking for the seller to pay some of your closing because you only have $2,000 or $3,000. So what happened was those laws took away about 70% of the buyer's pie that would allow the state to actually get more money because the VA, FHA buyers would pay more for the property. So it wasn't until '87 that the courts decided to do something about that, and that was this law. And once I got into the law, again, thanks to Jim Banks, I realized, wow. And everybody I talked to said, stay away from probates. You don't get a full commission, you can't buy at your price. And then I knew, I'm on to something, because the masses didn't know about this, all right? So I jumped into it, but it took me 2 years to do our first deal. I don't know if you did that, Escrow, up higher back in '87. Might have been Sue. I rotate between Becca and Sue. They're both great. Becca gets the lion's share. But it took me 2 years to do that deal. And all the time, the first question I ask my students when they come through, and they're getting a little bit antsy because they haven't done a deal in 30 days, I ask them, well, I said, it took me 2 years to do my first deal. And the first thing I tell them is, stay in the business, stay with this niche until you close your first probate. Close one. And then make a decision if it's for you. That's why my niche is like any other niche. We were talking about this tonight. Most people say 90% of the people don't do it, can't do it. And they go do something else. 10% will. It's probably more like 5% actually get this. And I have students all over the country, and those numbers have worked. I call every year and talk to as many of my students as I can how things are going. The majority of them put it up in the mothballs in the closet. And they're off to the next infomercial they see, or whatever. Okay. So,
Shiny star.
Pardon me?
Shiny star.
Okay. I tell them, I get all that, so I'm not even going to answer. 26 years I've been doing it, so there's got to be a reason, right? That's all I do now. And right now, actually, I represent one client, okay, that's given me a ton of money and says, I want you to turn this money for me 2 to 3 times a year. And everything else I have, I farm out to the rest of my people that are working with me. Okay? And that is the best of all worlds, because from '87 to 2000, I bought and sold. That's all I did, like a lot of you investors in here. I wasn't acting as an agent. I moved out of the office. I left. I was with Century 21 then, Castro Valley, Great Western. I left them. I went home, moved into my home office. I was in a Hawaii shirt and short pants for 13 years. That's all I did. I loved it. And I got to travel the country with my son and my daughter and played high-level sports and coach. And that's the reason I got into probate, because I wanted more time. I was working 70 hours a week, and when I got in the heyday of this, I was working, 20 hours a week. and keeping my income up to where it was. So I realized some of you have never heard of a probate before, and this is not the night we're going to explain everything about probate, but I'm going to give you some things to think about, okay? So the old miss was the court-approved, you had to have a court-approved listing for your real estate agents in here. How many are agents in here? Raise your hand, please. Okay, so if you get a court confirmation sale listing, it has to go through court. You have to be approved by the court, your listing. And they only give you a 90-day listing, all right? That means the estate attorney is going to dictate what's going on, and then the courts are. And that's tough. When you're going up against an estate attorney, most of them have their own real estate guy or girl. It's usually a college buddy, family friend, or whatever, or an agent who's probably, and most of them are great agents, but most of them don't know anything about probate real estate. They're just doing what the attorney tells them to do. So when you're going up against that, you're going to have problems, okay? With the IAEA, I can sign the listing, take it for a year, whatever I want to do, and the attorney doesn't even know. So that's how powerful this law is. Now, it's not powerful because we get to go do everything we want and steal people's properties away. That's not what it's about. The way I do this business is I approach it, and I've done it this way for 26 years. I've never had a problem with people knowing that we made $100,000 on their house 3 months later because they knew up front what we were doing. They knew we were going in, and knew the house needed work, and they had the choice to do that through us, with our help, even a partner, joint venture, or whatever. And most of them, even though they think they want to do that, when you get into it and talk about what has to be done, they don't want to do it. Hey, let's just get out of this thing. We want to move on with our life, okay? But I give them the options. And the way I do this is, if you turn to the next page, this is how we earn probate properties on 5 different levels. Is everybody there? How Gary Dean earns with probate homes? Anybody not there? It's not going to be on here, I think. Oh, you got it there. Pretty good. All right.
It's not in there.
Not the same one? Okay, so what I do is I look at every probate. Now, first of all, probate, you have to go through probate, first of all, to get the property out of the deceased name for the heirs to cash out eventually and get the money, right? Everybody understands that, right? Probates average 7 months in California. You don't have a lot of problems. It takes 7 months to close a probate. So the real estate is just one little factor in that probate. So I get the question all the time, well, if they're going to sell you the house in 30 days and they still have 6 months left for the probate, they don't get to touch the money. Why would they sell it to you now? And especially, why would they sell it at a wholesale price? That makes sense, right? I mean, why would you do that? Because most of us are thinking like sellers. We're not thinking like people that have lost somebody. It's free money. They live in Oklahoma and they had to move into the property because it's vacant and they're afraid of being vandalized. They just want this off their plate. So the money is not an issue. Plus, there might be 10 or 12 heirs. And the deal that we want them to do is maybe 5,000 to 10,000 less to them each. And it's not a big deal. Okay? So it happens. I'm just telling you it happens, right? 400 probates, it happens. So the first thing we do when we look at a probate is we want to know if they want to sell it, or what do they want to do with it. And do you want to know all your options, Mr. PR? When we first talk to the estate, the PR, which is the personal rep of the estate, is the person that the deceased asks to be either their executor by will, or through the chain of command. There's no will. The court has a process to go through who's next in line, and that would be the administrator, which is usually a family member as well. Okay, that just means no will. Same person. But we're there the week the file is open. There's a probate file in each county that's opened by the estate attorney, and it has everything we need to know if we're going to work this property or not. Okay, that's what we do. That's what we do. So we have 150 of these properties a month that come across our desk in the 6 counties that we work, which is Alameda, Costa, Solano, San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara County. Okay? Now, when you're working probate, you can work that area like that. This is a whole different. You're not farming from Castro Valley office, Castro Valley Homes, or Oakland or San Francisco. You're working the whole Bay Area the way we do it. And when we meet up with these people, those that want to meet, initially with a phone call or a letter that goes out to them, and they have some interest we're going to sit down with them and see what they want to do. My first focus is you want to sell it all cash. We'll show you how to get it out of court, close it, get this probate closed sooner than later, still average 7 months. And if they don't like that, I now know that this is not a wholesale deal. So I'm not going that route anymore. And now I put my agent hat on. And I say, okay, what do you guys want to do? And I find that magic number. And that's going to tell me if I can put a landlord type buyer into the property at 85 cents to 90 cents on the dollar. Landlords will buy a property at a 10% discount all day long in the areas where they own properties already, because probates usually are good condition. It's not a distress sale, it's an emotional sale, it's not a distress sale, okay? So if that's the route I go, then I have a group of landlords that I'll deal with. If I don't have anybody in that area, I look and I use my Old Republic system. I look in the neighborhood to see who owns real estate there a long time, and we'll contact those people because we'll have their address and say, hey, we know you own a property on Main Street. We have one 2 blocks over coming through. Would you be interested in a rental? You know, somewhere around a 10% discount, what we're dealing with. And we'll put the deal together. I act as an agent, and I get my full 6%. I work on full 6%, right, Becca? I get 6% coming in, and I get 2% going out. Now, in today's world, if you're on the MLS, you're fighting with commissions, right, agents? I mean, you are. You know, somebody's going to do it cheaper, okay? So that's what I look at on my level 2, we call it. But a lot of times, they don't even want the landlord's 85 cents, 90 cents. They want full retail. So after we sit down and go through the numbers, I say, okay, what you need is a net retail buyer, and I can bring you that. And I'll tell you what, I'll even bring it to you at no commission. How do you like that? That's what gives me my foot in the door, okay? Because nobody's talking to me. You other agents that might be calling probate, you're not talking to them. You want to get paid. So we have a process that we do for this. I still get my 6% the way we build it. I'm getting to talk to these people. When I talk to them, I make sure I service them. I tell them everything they need to do about probate. Because when they're dealing in probate, you're not talking to the state attorney usually. You're talking to a paralegal of the estate attorney. They're in the park most of the time, okay? So I can't tell you, it's a 3-step process usually that I do. First step is to get to kind of know them a little bit. Second one is kind of hone in on that a little bit. And the third step is actually get the deal. Ray, are we doing that right now? Yes, we are. Ray kind of asked me that night. Ray's a Mike Ferry guy. You don't leave the house without a deal, right? And he questioned me on it. I told him, that we weren't going to get it that night, and this is how I've been doing it. Just bear with me. So we'll find out what happens, right? So my point is, I take each PR only, the guy that makes a decision or a woman, from each position that I can work with him until I find that spot that says this is what this guy wants. I've educated him, and this is what he wants. And then I put the deal together. Now, if you're a retail buyer, now this is not on the MLS. We don't work on the MLS. We work off the MLS. I don't even want to be on, nothing to do with the MLS until we take one of our flip properties and we're putting it on for resale, or we're dealing with a state that we had to just take the listing. That's my level 3, is we worked it, we showed them we're a pro, and at level 3, we're just going to take the listing like Ray and I are doing right now. $800,000 house, going to be a nice payday for the two of us. We're doing it together. All right, that's level 3. Or if you're an investor, I teach my investors, look at, you spent 2 weeks, 3 weeks with these people. They don't want to take your deal where you're at, but they told you they want to sell. Are you going to walk away from that? Yeah, that's normally what I do, but I can't do a deal with them. I said, well, why don't you look at it this way? Who do you work with? Who's your agent that you work with? Yeah, I got a couple that I do. I said, well, you need to talk to your agent and say, look, can you understand probate? Because I can send you 5, 10, 15 leads a month that people want to sell their probate home. If it's a probate, they want full retail, and if you understand what you're doing, I can pitch you, because I've gotten close to these people, and you have a shot to get that listing. Now what happens, if you're licensed, you can get a referral fee on it. So on the properties that you're not getting, you can still be earning. If you're not licensed, and legally you can't get a commission referral fee, but what you can get is perks from your agent. I'm gonna send you 5, 10, 15 leads a month. You do my properties for free. You do all the comps and everything I need. And if that laws that marriage works good like that, you're happy and I'm happy, we'll go along. Are we okay with that? What are the agents are gonna say? What would you agents say if you had a chance for 5, 10, 15 leads a month? Anybody say no to that? I mean, it's okay. I mean, this is America, right? You wouldn't do it?
I said it depends on how good the leads
I
are.
would just put it on.
Right. No, I would do it.
The point is you would, until it proves to you that they're no good.
Right.
Okay, I'm telling you, these leads, the way we do it, they take them right to the point where we know if we wrote that price, we have a deal. If that price doesn't work, okay? So that's what we explain to our investors who are with us. Don't leave money on the table. Get yourself a network, and then you'll get free services out of that if you're not licensed, okay? The fourth way we do this is the court overbids, and this is where some of you might have heard or understand probate real estate. And that's where the sale goes to court, and they have an auction, and they do bidding there. You have to put 10% with your deposit. You probably heard about that, anybody? Okay. So what we've done in the past, I don't do it too much anymore. When I first started, 80% of the probates went to court, even with the IAEA available. So I had an added step I had to do. I had to pull it out of the court process, explain to the PR why we want to do that, and then I have to fight with the attorney over it, okay? Now today it's the other way. 80% are IAEA, 20% go through court, so that is really off the table. But it comes up. I have one now in Redwood City, $1 million property. Had to go through court confirmation. I double edited it myself. It's going to court. We could be outbid on this thing. Okay, I can't get it out of court. It's the way it goes. All right. So, but I couldn't do anything else with this property for 2 years. So what did I do? I listed it because I got close to the family, and they go, "This guy knows what he's talking about. He stayed with us. Let's give him the listing." I took the listing and I sold it to one of my investors who's buying it. So that's level 4. Okay. Level 5, and how we check on those is there is no publication that you can find about court overbids. As long as they've had this law, and before in 1987, the independent administration, when everything had to go through court confirmation, there was no publication to go. The legal news sometimes, you know, Intercity Express would have some notices, but nothing steady. The way we found these were, does everybody know at the Superior Courts where you check TS sales that are coming up for sale? On that bulletin board you usually will have. Well, next to that bulletin board is the probate court confirmation sales. And that's where they list them. And we would get about a 10 to 14 day leeway, and we would see that this property is going to court, be the court file, we go in there and check it, usually the contract's there, all the terms of the sale, we see if there's any room, and then we would determine if that's a retail deal, and we find one of our retail clients, or is that a chance for an investor, because maybe even that 90% rule, maybe that appraisal was 10% off, so really it's a 20% discount, and it could work if the property's in decent. We've bought many of them that way, but we don't practice that anymore. It's only when it comes up, because we don't have to. We're just too busy with IAEA the way we do it now. And then the 5th way we make money, remember I told you it takes 7 months for a probate to go through? Now a lot of the times when we're talking to a PR in that first week or two, they'll say, I'm not going to do anything, number 1, until I'm approved to be the executor and administrator. You guys heard that before? Anybody that's working probate? Ty, you heard that?
Yep.
Great, okay. Comes up all the time, almost every case. We buy them from PRs. Can't close them, but we buy them. And our offers are subject to them being approved as the executor and administrator. Now what you've done is you just tied up that property. Nobody else can buy it. Because what happens in probate is once you do a deal and you put numbers together and the executor likes it, the PR, whoever it is at that time, that's when the word gets out to the family and through the attorney's office and anybody else that's close. And now the buyers start coming out of the woodwork. Hey, if I'd known you would be selling for that price, we would have bought it. So many times I've had family come back and say, you know, our buddy there has a realtor friend and works with my wife and they want to buy the property. I said, sorry, you know, we're in escrow, we're tied up. They had their chance, and most of the time they've offered, if they know, this happened many times, less money than we are. But now they know we got it, now they're trying to break the deal. And I had it tested with an attorney. Anybody heard of Len, guy on KGO, the attorney? Tillum. Okay, so Len's a famous attorney up out of the Sonoma area. So I had a probate I was dealing with him on, and I bought it from the PR. And the same thing happened, an agent friend of the family tried to buy it earlier for less. I came in, snatched it up at my price, which was more than his, and then he tried to break my deal because he wanted it, and on those terms. You're the PR, you can't sign the property, that contract is no good. And I said differently to the PR, I said, he's right if you don't become the executive. If you do, my deal's mine. They took it to Len, and Len said, he's right. Step down or honor the deal. So they honor the deal. Okay? So what we do in this fifth level is all these PRs that tell us that, where they say we're not doing anything on the property until after we do what's called final distribution. Probate's done. Everything's been done, creditors are paid, now they're going to close it. Property, if it hasn't been sold, is going to go to the rightful heirs. And then what they think they're going to do with it usually is they're going to rent it, they're going to put a family member in it, whatever. They're going to move it into themselves. And most of the times, the ones that raise their hand up front and said, we're going to do something, but not until after, but I think we're going to keep it, we're not sure, or we're going to sell it after final distribution. We market those people on a monthly basis, and what we're doing is what realtors call farming, okay? But we're farming probate heirs that are going to own a free and clear piece of property in 7 months. We're taking that 7-month period to get close to them, keep our branding going. So by the time that happens, and we know that they're going to have problems or they want money, you know, $500,000 they're sitting on, and their cousin, you know, Joey, that's been rented, doesn't pay the rent for 2 months in a row. That's when they start thinking, let's just get our money and be done with this. Well, we've been staying in touch with them. We get a lot of those. And they'll call us up, so you guys still want it? Or you know, you want to put it on the market for us? We like you can stay with those. So that's what we do. So just imagine if you had 500 of those to 1,000, and you were farming them on a yearly basis instead of a tract of houses that you're taught as an agent to go farm 500 homes, and these people have been there before you were born, probably, all of them. And yeah, there's going to be business, and farming is great, and you'll get a piece of that. But these are 500 homes that are free and clear, that are getting free money on heirs, and there's a good chance they're going to do something with it. Unless they actually move it in the house themselves, there's a good chance they're going to sell it. So we stay in contact with them with a drip system, flyers going out to them, reaching out, phone call every 3 months or whatever. Just let them know we're here like we do on the farm. Branding ourselves, branding our face, our company, whatever. And you'll get deals there, all right? So what all this means to me and to you, these levels that I'm talking about, is between 25 to 35 deals a year. That's about what we average, okay? This year we're about 33 right now. When I say deals, I mean size. All right, so if I double in a probate, get my full 6%, that's 2 sides, okay? So, and then keep in mind, most of these that we do this way, that's not a retail buyer that we're putting into the property, I get a 3rd side. So we buy it, I double end it, my guy rehabs it, and then I resell it for him, I get to list it, okay? Because I've been around so long, I get hit up weekly from investors, I deal with just a couple. Ty met one of them today, right, Ty? It's my #1 guy, and I'm almost exclusively for them right now. And to answer the question, I don't buy and sell anymore. I had that up to 2,000. It was good. I had a partner, but I don't want to have to manage the project. I don't have to worry about the investment capital. I don't want to do anything but get the deal for my investors, let him make the lion's share. And really, when they break it all up, there's 3 in this particular group. They each get a 3rd. I'm actually making more money than each one of them. But collectively, you're making good money, okay? So that's why I do these probates. Now, if you go to the next page, what this is just to show you is I do what I talk about, okay? I'm not just selling books and tapes, okay? I mean, they're available if you want them, okay? But I work every day in the trenches, and I've been doing this for a long time. This is our current production that's going on right now that we put together over the last 90 days. And I work with agents like Ray and Ty. I have my own groups. I have bird dogs in every county. We're doing a lot of this together. So even though this looks like a ton of money, it gets pieced out, but it's still very good for everyone involved. Okay. So this is just to let you know what's going on out there right now, that there's so much business on the table, and the competition is basically not there. Because I have programs where if you're going up against me to buy a property, I'm going to tell them, all right, you're selling it, you got 7 offers on the table, okay. They're all wholesale deals, yeah, they're all invested, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 5,000 more than your best wholesale offer. All right, and that usually gets me in there to the end. And they have to show me the contract, and then we still have our due diligence, right? Did we do that time?
Yep.
Okay, did we close?
Absolutely.
Was it sweet for both everybody, including Dave?
Yes. Win, win, win.
Okay, so that's the way we do this. And now this network, it kind of took off on its own. I didn't structure this 26 years ago to go this way. But now that the network groups, and ever since we've been doing the meetups, and I'm speaking a lot more than I ever used to. Before, all of my speaking and seminars were only for my diamond farming students. Now I'm doing a lot more. I'm at the Real Estate Summit. Anybody going there this weekend? San Francisco State? Bo, you go? Good. I'll be there 9 o'clock, 9:15 on the panel Sunday morning.
I did the video for it.
Awesome. I'll see you guys there. So I'm doing a lot of that for a reason, because I found out my business gone up 30% ever since I started this, and I'm not out there doing everything myself like I did for most of this time. Okay? So you give up a little bit, you give up a piece, but you're doing more, which really is sweet. And a lot of the guys are starting to work with me right now, starting to see how that works. We're all getting a little piece of the deal, right? We just do another one today, right? It's going to close in 10 days. Nice payday for both of us. And a lot of times when you do this the way we do it, you're on a referral end. Right, Todd?
No.
There's no file for you to do. There's no escrow for you to do. You're just in the deal. Sorry, Becca. There's no escrow on your side either. When I'm on the referral side, I just get a referral fee. And it's big. It's usually half the commission. So that's the way we do. We think outside the box that most realtors do. And there's nothing wrong with what most realtors do. I did that for many years before I went into this niche. But this is kind of just mushroomed on its own now. So this got me through the tough times that we had in 07, 08, 09, when the market was crazy. Probate is not affected by whatever that, whatever is happening out there with economics and the world. Because people are still passing, and they have to get rid of their properties usually. And there's always a buyer for something, no matter what the market conditions are. At the right price, there's a buyer. And when it's free money, they're going to sell. So that kept me afloat, because I was doing REOs like everybody else during that time, and when that blew up, I kept my probates going. So a lot of guys were hurt because they went from 20 deals to 1 deal because the probates went away. So anyway, so that's what we do. Now the last I want to show you is what we do with a probate lead, how I put this together, okay? So is everybody at the probate tracking sheet? And first, before I get there, is there any questions on what I just said? Remember the test, okay?
Here, you said you could get paid in 10 days, but it takes 7 months to close it. I missed something.
Okay, so don't put the 10-day escrow and the 7-month probate in the same pot, okay? So we got a waiver of the notice of proposed action, so we took the 35-day normal escrow, moved it to 10, because we don't have to wait 20, right? And we're closing it in 10 days. All that money is going to the estate bank account that Becca talked about. So you don't get the money, okay? It goes to the account. And again, I explained this to them up front, so they know this. These people that are PRs, has anybody been an executive before? All right, am I speaking the truth here? You're kind of in the dark, right? They don't know that this money is not going into their pocket or to the family, whatever it is, until probate's complete. But what they learn is once that cash, is usually the house is the biggest asset, is liquefied and put into the estate bank account, the probate's going to move fast. Because they only have to go 4 months for the creditors to be notified to put their claim in if they have one. And then after that, just as fast as they can get through it. And if everybody's going to get paid, they're going to move on it quickly because they know there's $500,000 sitting in the estate bank account. Let's get this done. Okay? All right? Answer your question? Anybody else?
So
So I'm not good, I guess. Only one question out of everybody. Okay. All right, so let's go to probate tracking sheet. This is a sheet that I get across. This is exactly the sheet. And this was one of them I took from August. That gives me all of the information. I'm going to show you in a minute where this information comes from. But if you can see, I kind of circled the key points, okay? Anybody not there? You guys are there? All right, so you see in the top right corner, Bo, you there?
Yeah, I'm looking at this.
Okay. You want one? I got an extra.
I got one. Okay.
You just want to, okay. Contact information on the top, that's our executor, PR, administrator, whoever they are at the time. And you see there we have not only their name, their address, but their phone number and who they are in relationship to the estate. That's the daughter in this case. So when we're calling up that person, we know we're talking to the daughter. And if it was a spouse, we have a little bit different conversation, or we may not even go to the spouse because it's still, it's still probably smart and right then. Okay, you got to be a little compassionate. In my earlier days, I was just business, and I got some rude call back and letters from people that I guess I really offended. And you'll hear this when you work probate, that they'll call you an ambulance chaser or whatever. Okay, that's usually people that they're not educated to what you do. Don't understand that what you're doing is actually because we're giving the estate options. We're not just going there trying to buy it at 70 cents on the dollar. If that's workable, we're going to do it. But if not, we're going to do what's best for them. That way we're educated, okay? So all we're doing is saying that somebody's going to end up selling this house for them or buying it for them, and that's going to be us. Or, we're going to know when we walk away that we did everything we could, we're okay, and we didn't get it, okay? That's the attitude we take. So we say we're providing a service. It may mean that we're buying your house, we're going to flip it and make $100 grand on it in 3 months, but you understood that, and you signed the comps that you understand that, and you had the option to do it yourself, and we would fix it up for you with no upfront costs out of your pocket, but you decided no, you don't want to do it. So you have no argument. Or I brought in a little higher offer landlord or retail, or we took it to your place. Okay? Because you'll get the question now, why would anybody not go to the MLS and get exposure, right? And that's a valid point. The market has slowed down the last 6 months, the first 6 months, we all know that right now. Homes are still selling within 30 days usually. But again, it's because this is not, you're thinking as a seller would, this is different. They're in a different mindset than you guys, because they've lost a family member, they want to get this off their plate. The money is important, but the only time it's really important is the day you're sitting in front of them presenting your offer. Okay? And that's how we've learned over 26 years how to approach that as well. So we're getting our offer signed, and they feel good about it, and we don't have to take it to the attorney, but the attorney will see it, and he'll have a right to make an adjustment on it in writing or disapprove it. And here's a tip. Any attorneys in here? This is a tip. I love attorneys. I make a lot of money from them doing what they do. The attorneys don't want to approve, and they don't want to disapprove it, unless it's pertaining to what they're doing in their practice of law. So when you have a contract that says this is subject to your attorney's review, you've read it before, right, Becca? And disapproval in writing within 3 days from delivery, never happens. And then if there does a question comes up, I say, great, I'll have my attorney call you guys for it. And my attorney works on it, $250 for a letter or a phone call, and usually attorneys will work it out. But the deals are solid when they go, and if they know you're all cash, you know you're dealing with an attorney, they're not going to give you any problems. Okay? You got to know how to do this. All right? So this is the lead. So if you go down to the left on top is the information of deceased. That's the court case number, the file number. And this happens to be in Oakland. Okay, we have a Superior Court out of Oakland where these are kept. You can go online to some of the courthouses. They're starting to change it now. Now if you go online in Alameda County, they're going to be charging you for documents. A petition is now $5.50. So if you can imagine getting out of Oakland, we get about 60 to 80 a month. You're spending times $5.50. That's a lot of money to spend out of your pocket. So we have our researchers there, and you can get the information. You don't have to pay for it. You can do it right there. And they fill out this probate tracking sheet, okay? So that tells me who the attorney is, William Taylor. Sometimes we don't care about their street address, but we like to get their email if we have it. That's for future business, if you want to try and get business. We do not go after estate attorneys to get their business. We only do that when we're in a deal. And we're backing into that, and we service it. And now we start talking after the deal was done and it went the way we said it, because we have the PR or executive sign a letter. And usually they tell me to write it, we'll sign it. And it's just saying that we did everything we said we would do. They were happy, and they would do business with us again. And we worked that attorney, and that's where we can start building more deals with attorneys. Okay, up front's going to be tough. All right, is everybody okay? Anybody getting tired? David, you fall asleep? Check it. Yeah, but
With the IAED, let's say they agree to it. There is an action, so we don't have to wait the 7 months that we can go to court.
So you don't have to go to court with the IAEA.
But you still have to wait no matter what. I thought there was an action where you don't have to. There's something you can do where you don't have to wait for the court.
Oh, what you're talking about is the notice of proposed action waiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can sign a waiver and you don't have to wait 20 days, not 7 months. The 20-day period can be waived. So then if you have an all-cash 10-day close, you can do it.
Okay.
If not, that's why I write all my deals for 35. And I put in there, I ask for that to be waived so we can close sooner. But if they don't, I'm still locked into my 30 days. The first 20 will be notice of proposed action. Once we know there's no problems with the heirs, then we'll do our due diligence with inspections and then we close.
So you don't have to wait, basically.
You don't have to wait.
Okay.
No. If you're on a probate tomorrow and they want to sell and everything goes good, you can have it closed, if it's all cash, in 5-10 days if you get the waiver, or within 35 days if you get the letters of testamentary, notice of proposed action, and the letter that Becca needs on the taxes.
So that's a huge selling proposition for them, is that they don't have to wait 7 months. You can sell, you can potentially get it done in 30 days without paying any commissions and doing all.
Well, they still don't get the money in 35 days. Realize that. The estate doesn't get the money.
It still has to go through the whole, okay.
But they get this vacant house that's being vandalized that they moved into off their plate.
But us as the buyer can close, and the money sits in escrow?
Yeah, money goes, it's just the cash. We have the house, we're starting rehab 36th day, or the 10th, 11th day, okay?
Yeah.
For us, we don't wait anything after closing. We're done, we got the house, we rehab. We probably rehabbed and sold the house and closed it before probate's done, okay? And in the early days, I used to sell them before I closed, and I'd have them resold. Because in those days, my investors used equity lines on their homes, and they only paid the interest while the money was out. So we would close it, and I'd pre-sell the house subject to us closing our escrow. And then our escrow would close, and then we close within 10 days later. So my investor only had about a 10-day interest out on his money that he paid cash for the property. Does that answer all your questions?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
He was first.
Okay, sure.
Just real quick, if there's only one heir, do you even need to bring up the waiver?
Yeah, you should, because it's a paper trail that you want to have. I'm doing that right now, and I asked for the waiver, and then the attorney said it's no problem. She agreed to it, right? So, but Tyler will probably want that. Okay, so that's why you get it, sir.
So let's say you're working with a partner or something like that, and you're networking. Now, does that partner get like a referral fee plus he gets some points on the back end or something?
The way I work it with my bird dogs is when they bring me a property, if they're not licensed, they're going to receive a 25% of the list side. If I double-end it to my investor, they're only participating on the list side. Okay, and they got to be licensed to get them. All right. If it's an agent, like I work with Ty, and I work with Ray, and a few others in here, we're probably going to work that deal together. If they're calling me, it's in the early days, and they're still learning the whole process, so we're doing deals together. And eventually they'll do their own. And they may have a deal that they want to bring me in and just partner on it or whatever. Or I may say, hey, I got a deal out in Fairfield, or we're doing one in Napa, and Ty's going to take the listing when we're done with it because it's out of my area, right? So that's what the network is. All right, so you get a set fee as a bird dog.
Okay. As
an agent, it depends on the degree of your input into it. Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify that under the IAEA law, you don't have to get court confirmation.
Correct. Okay. Did you have a question at the time?
On the pro-per, and I know maybe talk a little bit about your attorney, and I think that'll tie in well. have you experienced with people that are doing the pro per, doing their own legal work, people that are adamant, no, we're going to do it pro per all the way? Are you finding that they're able to navigate all the way through the NOVA, and even though they have full authority?
Most of them, no, but eventually. But they may stretch out a deal 6 months to a year that could have happened, and maybe the market changed and actually lost money. This has happened. Where the Ty speaking is my attorney that works with my group. He's actually out of San Diego, but he works with my group up here when we have deals through paralegals. And he will do, what a pro per means is that the estate is not having an attorney represent them to do the probate. They're doing it themselves. And the reason that they want to save all the statutory fees. There's fees like 4% of the first 1,000, 3% of the next 100,000, 100,000. It goes on up. It's expensive, okay? We're doing one in Oakland right now, $550 sale. The attorney's fees $14,000. So sometimes there's no equity. If this is a short sale, that's a whole other thing. But they don't want to pay the attorney for whatever reason. Or there's upfront money that they have to pay if they're doing it themselves. That's when it gets a rude awakening. So my attorney does this for pro per. I can go in there and say, look, I can tell you by experience you have nothing but trouble with this. You probably already had some dates that went to court and they postponed it because your things weren't right. Yeah, that's true. I do that. My guy will do it for you. It's $453 a month. That's all you got to pay. And many times my investor, if I'm selling it, will pay that money. I'm not going to pay that money. And we get it smooth. My guy does it through the paralegal. We get it done. Got a deal. Okay? I've been following pro pers for years, and I've been in court cases to go bid on them because it was going to court for confirmation. And every time I went, there was something wrong, and the court wouldn't allow it to be sold. Okay, put on the calendar. Come back in 6 weeks. Eventually, somebody gets to them, and they get it done. Or some of them will do it on their own. But, I've seen it when the market's changed. And they saved that attorney fees, but they lost $50,000 on the property because the market went down.
Well, one more question. And when you go, as far as the overbid process, let's just say you're following a property and you put an offer in it because it was on the MLS, and somebody bids higher and gets it into contract, then you check it out, and the overbid is on a certain day, so you go to the overbid because you think maybe you can add square footage and there's upside there, and maybe other people haven't seen that. So when you go to the overbid, do you need a cashier's check then, or do you have a certain amount of time that you can close after? Can I get private money?
Are you the offer that's going to court to be approved, or you're a bidder going?
I'm a bidder because when I was on the MLS, I didn't get it.
Okay. The rules state you're supposed to have a 10% cashier's check with you in hand. I've seen it. I've been in court bidding, and the court waived it, and the guy outbids me. He doesn't even have his 10% check with him. But the rules, 90%, 95% of the time, you're going to have to, proof up your money. When you're standing up there in court confirmation, the probate referee is going to ask the state attorney to qualify every bidder. And qualifying means, let me see your 10%. And that's what you're doing. Okay? So yes, and then the opening bid, you realize it's 5% plus 500 more than the offer that went to court to be approved. That's your math.
But how long do I have to close? I'll bring my cashier's check. 10%, let's say, but do I have 30 days or something?
Usually it's the court order on the terms that are going to court. So if the term's going to court for 30 days, that's what they're going to give you. Okay?
And then it's going to be disclosed prior to me bidding it?
Yeah, because when we go to the file and we get all the terms, I bought them where we got $10,000 in closing costs because that was the deal that they set up with the other buyer, and they gave it to us. Okay? So, but normally you'll work that out with the estate attorney. And if you know that their contract says close within 30, they say, can we close sooner on this deal? Usually they're going to say yeah.
One last question. I bought a probate off the MLS. I wasn't the agent. The agent wrote it because he was the listing agent. And then I closed. I got my offer accepted. And then we got went through. We got approved through the courts. But then I wanted to assign the contract to just another. They don't let you, huh? It has to go back through the court process.
When you have due diligence time when you first make your offer on that property. You're going to have your 10, 15 days, whatever you have. You can go into the deal as you or a signee, but when you firm up and they're going to petition the court for the sale, you have to know who the buyer is at that time. So what we do is we'll put us or a signee And then 15 days later, when we remove our contingencies, it'll be this trust or that buyer LLC or whatever, because we now, during the 15 days, maybe the buyer I brought in there, now we have inspections decided, I don't want it. So we assign it to another investor. We bring back our contingency, same terms. We tell, hey, Joe Blow is buying the same terms. Did we just go through this on Soto Road? And we had different terms, and I actually didn't put a binding on it. And I was worried about the estate saying, we don't know. What do you mean you're giving it to another investor? Because they had people behind me trying to buy it for more money. So, answer your question, during your due diligence, you can do that.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, if the attorney says no up front, you just tell him, I work with 2 or 3 investors, I'm not sure which one I'm putting it to. Once we get our own inspections that the estate will get a copy of, then we'll know who. When we remove the contingencies, we'll have our firm, and you can petition the court.
Is the original offer information public information?
Yes.
And if it's public, where is it?
It's in the court file, so you have to know how to get to it. And it's all based on the, see up here in your probate tracking sheet, the file number, where it said RP, upper left corner. That's the court case file number. So if you went to the Alameda Superior Court, you can go to the computer and go to the section and pull up that by that court case number, and everything is there. In the old days, it used to be files. They handled the file. And in there, on a court confirmation sale, there'll be the contract, all the terms, counters, you see everything there is, who the agents are, if any. And we've bought them before from families selling to neighbors, no agents involved, and the price was pretty good. And we show up to bid on it, and they didn't know what they were doing, and, you know, they lost the property. So, but again, today we're not there that much in the court
But you
system.
can walk in with your offer, without it being public information.
Yeah. In fact, there's a way we teach this and do this that we don't want people to know we're coming in with our offer. Because then what happens if there's another offer that's going to court and everybody knows that you're on it, especially a guy that's a little high profile in probates, Gary's coming in possibly with an offer, they're going to prepare for an overbid. And we don't want them to do that. So I'll have somebody else with me call up, ask questions, and then end up with, well, I want to offer less than that number. Well, you can't. It's court confirmed. It has to be an opening bid. Well, it needs too much work. I'm not interested. Thank you. Well, we already went through the property. We checked it. We know what we're doing. We show up again. Okay? Again, 1 out of 100 properties now, you might be going to court. Okay? So that's not where we put focus here. But when it comes up, like this Redwood City deal, and there's a huge fees involved, a huge upside for the investor, then you got to know what you're doing. Okay? All right. So if you go down on the form a little bit more, see where it says will information? Okay, well, first of all, back up there to subject property. So Groom Drive, everybody see that in Richmond? That is a subject property that the petition is telling me, I'm going to go to the petition next, I'll get you guys out of here. It's telling me that that was the estate's residence at time of death. Does not necessarily mean that is his house he owns. Okay, usually it is. So that's why we scrub through Old Republic titles. If you look at the next sheet, this is what I take from Old Republic, and you see the circles on the top, and see where Groom Drive all over it. So that verifies to me that the petition address is owned by the deceased. But this also tells me when I search if they own any other property. Because on a petition that won't be listed. Okay? And I'll show you, we'll go to the petition next. Does everybody see that? Any questions on that? All right. So when we're doing our leads, because there are lead services, I'm in partnership with, anybody heard of Mike Torres and the other guys? And I got that straightened out for you. Yeah. You're all good. Dropped it to 7. You got done. Everything's waiting.
Turned on today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Turned on.
All right. So they didn't say we didn't know you were talking about this.
Thank
time?
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So.
I'll drink later.
Where was I? Okay, so I only control 6 counties. So I partnered with, we're all over the United States now, almost every state we're covered for probate leads with other third partners. So what they've done is for me to refer my students to, they've waived, like the fee there was about $500 up front to get going. Okay, so we got that waived for Ty, and I think I reduced monthly on that, I think. He's raised a little bit, it's like, not much.
$79.
Something like that. The difference with those leads, like I told you, is they don't scrub title, and they don't give you phone numbers. They don't go that much into research. A lot of times their research are being done from guys in India, from these companies across the country. And they're going to the courthouses that will let you go online. You're only getting certain things. Our researchers are trained, first of all, we scrub title to make sure the property and any other property we know about. And then secondly, the phone number we get about 60 to 70% of the time. There's another document in the file that we pull, and that's where the phone number for the PO is. So you see in this case on that probate tracking sheet was the phone number, right? Of the daughter. And I had to black it out because of, I had a guy call it just to make sure it wasn't a shield. It's kind of embarrassing. But so that's the only difference in the leads that are outside, or I got the other guy that covers, Mike is in 5 states I think now. And the other ones we were using U.S. probate leads. We're switching to another guy who's the rest of the United States. He's a little bit more expensive, but they don't scrub title or phones. But if you have no other choice to go down every week and get your research yourself, then these things are good. You just can pop a letter in the mail and hopefully you get some call back. We got a guy, one of our guys in Vegas is doing about 30 of these yellow cards, yellow postcards every week. Did you say 30 a week? He's getting or a month, I forget. Anyway, he's getting a deal every 30 that are going out just in his mail. So it's keeping up. Getting out, it's not verified, the property address is not verified, and there's no phone number, but I guess the one that works, he's getting the deal now.
So you still just use the phone now? You don't send the letters out anymore?
We only send letters now after phone conversations has indicated that they want to do something. In the old days, everybody got a letter. And it was shotgun, but keep in mind, I was probably the only guy in the Bay Area doing it. So, but I started out working in Castro Valley, San Lorenzo, Hayward, and San Diego, just those 4. And that kept me busy. And then I opened up to Alameda County. And that was shotgun approach, no phone calling. There wasn't this particular form they use now, which is called duties and liabilities. That's the form in the file that will have the phone number most of the time. Now, then we went to Alameda County, and now we're 6 counties, soon to be 7. So,
what triggers the list? Like, what is it, the letter that, what's the first thing that, when they're scrubbing the list that gets called, so we know that there's been is it a...
Well, you mean, how do we get to the address, the check?
No, I'm just saying, is it a letter to the court systems that?
No.
What's the public information that gets recorded?
Right on the Old Republic title site, they're giving me basically the tax roll. That's showing me that that property is owned by that deceased person and any other properties that they own. That's my first check. Because a lot will happen, this happened to me in the beginning days. You get a phone number and you call on the address and you go, we're calling, we want to know about the property on Main Street. Are you thinking about selling? We'd like to buy it. I'll give you all cash. Well, that's a convalescent hospital that my uncle's dad, when he died. What are you talking about? Okay, so that happens a lot. Or they're with a family member. They were sick. In their last days, they moved in with family. And that was their last residence, but it wasn't what they owned. But as in a minute here, if you go to the next page, okay, everybody saw title, right? So on my leads in front of me, every property has this title scrub, okay? And about 60 to 70% of the time a phone number. So if you go to the next page, which is the petition for probate, and this is the last one, I'll get you guys out of here. How are we doing on time?
Great.
Is anybody tired, want to go now?
No, we'll make money.
Okay, like that. Okay, so this is where everything starts for us. A petition for probate, notice for probate, basically all the same. I circled everything, but I looked at this earlier and I used my Italian math, so it looks like the numbers are backwards. I did a couple of them twice, so I'm just going to go down. So the first thing we do when we go to a file, researchers look at page 2, so turn a page. And you see where it's circled as $650,000? Everybody see that? Anybody don't see that? Okay, what that is, that tells me that there's real estate in this estate. Because what they're saying there is the gross fair market value of the real property. And underneath that will be if there's any liens on it. So if there was $525,000 loan against this property that they say is $650,000, that may not be a good wholesale deal for us. Because we have to buy it at almost loan value to make any money on the flip, correct? So would I be going after that house to flip it, or would I be going after to say, let's bring you a retail offer, no commission? You think they like that? That's one of our programs. So you have to know that before you're calling or whatever, because you might be, yeah, bring me an offer. I love it. And they're underwater.
So that's your nice guy offer.
Well, yeah, I'm a nice guy. I'd say I'm a nice guy, but it's not based on that. It's based on competition. It's based on what I do to ward off everybody else that don't know what they're doing. That basically muddies up my deals because they say something they can't do.
Okay.
So if I know there's real estate that's $650 and they owe too much to do a wholesale deal, I'm not talking that language, but somebody else is calling them 10 times a day, we want to buy your property all cash, it's a wholesale. And if they're not doing their homework, they don't know that that's not wholesale property. Okay? Of course, we got to check the $650 to make sure that's right. Maybe it's an $800,000 property. Usually, these numbers are right. Close. Okay?
They're close enough.
Close enough. So because this showed that there was real estate here, now we go back to page 1. All right? Now, my researchers will fill out everything that you see that's circled. And we start with, if you go back to the probate tracking sheet, a couple pages prior, all this stuff that we're asking for. Now, this one doesn't match up with me, but anyway, start on top. Jennifer Theate, whatever. That's the attorney. Okay, you see her email there, info@the-law, and her phone number. That's all we're taking. Because if I have to deal with her, I just need that information. It tells me who the estate of is, Robert Smith II. That's the name I'm going to check. I'm going to check the property address. See down at the bottom where it says 605 Tino Way? That's what we're checking to make sure they own that. And then everything in between is just, if you go back up to the right there where it says number 3 is the RP number. That's the reference number for Oakland Superior Court for this probate. If I was ever going down there, I would pull this file using that number. Okay, on the computer. And see right underneath the file number where it says November 04, 2014. Again, apartment 201 at 930. You see that? Anybody not see that?
I haven't found it yet.
Okay, keep looking. Right underneath the court file on the petition. Right here underneath the court file number. Okay? Yeah, you're on the tax roll.
This one.
Okay?
Thank you.
Everybody else there? All right, so that's the date that the PR is going to court to be approved to be the executor or the administrator. Okay? And if you look at item 2, see where it says petitioner, Robert Smith III and Rachel Smith? Those are our people that we're going to deal with. First page, item 2. And if you look right below that in box 3, so it's 2B, number 3. See where the box is marked administrator?
Where's number 2?
Okay.
It says number 2, right where it says
Well,
number
no, I'm
5.
sorry. On the printed form, number 2, not my Italian number 2.
Right.
Okay, just go down the column and you'll see printed form number 2. Item B3, the box is marked administrator. That tells me it's administrator, okay, or if it was executor, it'd be there. But right now they're the PR. And until they go to court on November 4th, that's when you're going to get the statements, well, I'm not approved to be the PR until November 4th. I don't want to do anything afterward. I understand that's fantastic. You think after that you might be thinking about something to go with that conversation, right? And if I can get an appointment in front of them, we'll try to do that. So I want to give you some important information that you're going to need when you decide to do that, whether we can do business or not, when we get together. And when we do that, I explain everything, that's when I get a contract sometimes signed right there. I said, you want to, let's get this thing going. Are you good with these numbers? Show them the comps, whether this is what you want to do. Yeah, well, let's show your attorney you want to do that. Let's get it. And if you don't get approved, this is no good. Because we're going to write in a contract. It says you being approved of November 4th to be the administrator. Okay? Why do we do that? Or try to do that? I mentioned it earlier. Anybody?
Tie it up.
What?
You want to tie it up?
That's right, We're tying it up because we know soon, we're usually the first ones in these files. There's some good guys out there right now. They're getting there quick. But usually we're the first. Once you tie it up, doesn't matter what happens afterwards. You got it, okay? and you just do the right thing, good job, get it done. Okay?
Gary, what about past taxes? If that's
What's that?
the taxes,
Texas?
past taxes.
Past taxes?
Past
Oh, you mean real estate taxes?
Of any kind, liens,
It's
taxes.
like a regular sale. Anything's gonna be prorated to the day of escrow closing. All right, there's nothing changes. The only thing that changes here is getting the deal in the escrow and how we do it with the Independent Administrations Act. And if we need the notice of proposed action for heirs or letters of testamentary for a signing authority and a grantee. Everything else is a regular deal. All right? Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a question. So this particular page, did you already have the list when you go
Where are you at?
I'm looking at the court paper, the Alameda.
I know. What page are you at? First page?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
first page.
Are you asking where this came from?
Well, I know where it's coming from because I've been to the court.
Okay.
When I search up for
Okay.
eviction. So
Okay.
so did you go to the court computer? You look for a certain thing. You look for.
Okay, the way we do the research is every file that is filed has a probate number on a daily basis. So we go to it and pull that file for that day, and the cases that we know that the petition is there, you're going to have maybe 20 items on a day, maybe only 4 or 5 or 6 of them have the notice of petition there. We're not bothered with the other items of that day, which is a will that was posted. Only if it has a petition are we going there. Then that is scaled down, and then when the researcher goes, he's only looking at those 4 or 5 for that day out of 20, that we know the petition is there. We're not wasting time with everything else. Okay?
So what is he searching for? He's searching for.
If there's real estate, page 2 on the notice of petition. That's what you're looking
Oh, he's looking specifically for notice of.
So your leads that you get don't tell if there's real estate with it. You have to. That's just that's a notice of petition.
Let me back that up. The leads that I get do. The process of getting to that point, when it comes to me like this, we don't know until we're there in the file. Okay, but that's by, if you were doing this yourself, you would have to search it, find the notice, check to see if there's real estate. Now sometimes there won't be a real estate number listed, but to the upper right corner, you see where the 80,000 is? That's personal property. It'll say 500,000 or 600,000, big number. And then I go back to the first page and I look at that again, and I said, I know most of the areas. I go, that could be that value of that property. And what that tells me now is it could be a trust. So if it's a trust, it's not going through probate. There's some other reason. Why don't you come up here? You'll do one, Charlie can do one. Everybody got their card in here? Okay, the first one we're going to do.
Can't make it too tall.
I didn't want you to. The first one we're going to do is we're going to give away one of our webinars, which is basic probate. A lot of what we just talked about. Now, if you're a student of mine already and you have the course, you already have this. And we give you 3 of these webinars. So if that's you who wins, we'll give you something else, another choice. Okay? All right?
Jim Yan.
Jim Yan. Where's Jim Yan? Okay.
No, I don't. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
No, you do it. You do it.
Okay, we're going to go on one more.
Now Beth will do it.
Okay, well, this is going to be is 90 days of free leads, so you can get a taste of what the leads are.
Try it.
Okay? If you have them already, I'll give you a free month. And I think, Mike, you do have it already, don't you?
Yeah, he has it.
You got them? Okay? I'll give you a free month anyway, but let's find somebody that doesn't have them. Hey, what do you do? Put 4 or 5 cards in here?
Tim Jack goes 30 days.
It's okay.
Roll out.
Mike, he has them too. You got them too. We'll give you a deal too.
Take his card out.
Yeah, take it out.
Just a moment. Let's say guy.
Take it.
Another guy with multiple
multiple cars.
You can look at the cars.
There's just 3 guys. There's 3 guys with 30 cars.
Really got that.
Okay, we got Ayana. All right, right here. So I have your email on here correctly. So we're going to send you the latest bond batch that just went out, and you'll get that. They go out twice a month on the 15th and the 31st is the cutoff date for the leads. But then it's 2 business days after that because we have to gather everything and the researchers to get it all going. So normally on the last day of the month is the 2nd business day of the next month, and on the 15th of the month is the 2nd business day after that. They go out on top. Okay? So we get those 2, you can check them out. Anybody else, you've got our contact info, you want to look at them. You have leads in your packet. I also left up here, I didn't have time, there's some recent flips that we did. You can kind of see the numbers that we're doing. And just so you know, the investors that I work with, they work on a 10% net. Okay? And let me tell you what that can do for you. Everybody wants 15% and a little bit more. That's coming down now because properties are so hard to get. What I mean by that is if they paid $300 for it and they put $100 grand into it with everything, selling costs coming and going, they want to net $40 grand on that deal and make that deal work. That's the lowest they'll do to do it. Okay? If you have that kind of investor, you'll make a lot of money in this business. The ones that need 15 to 20%, you're going to have too much competition because they're usually using transactional funds or borrowing a lot of money and they're paying too many people, so they have to get 16, 18% return on their money just to make any money. So we're beating all those people when we're coming in with the flat 10% net. But what that does for you, most of the deals that my investor does, he's making 15 to 20 to 30% on his deals. He'll just go into the deal at a 10% net. Now, what that has transpired is he just turned over $7 million to me, okay? He was $2 million at first, and he gave me $7 million, and he wants it turned twice a year. So think about that. If you're doing just $7 million, and I turn that in a year, and I'm making 6% on that, that's a lot of money, right? And my teeth. Then I resell all this, probably at least $8 million, because it needs to make a 10% return. That's another $160,000 on top of it. That's from one client, okay? So I didn't start that way. I had to do some deals. We had some shoving back and forth because they think differently than I do on disclosures and other things. But we've done a lot of properties together. We're doing one right now with Ty. Ty met him today. He represents a very strong group out in the Central Valley. And this what can happen when you start getting a name and you have properties. Even as an investor, you don't have to be an agent to do it. You can be an investor. I told you some ways to make money as an investor. What that's ordered off, a lot of things, perks, if you're turning them on to agents and things like that. So that's how valuable a tool this is. So those of you that are serious, we'll help you wherever you want to take this business. If you're not, that's okay. You're going to risk a couple $100. Okay? But the upside is tremendous if you have that type of person that can take this and run with it, and you got to help if you help yourself. That's all I'm going to say. I appreciate your guys' time. Again, thanks, guys.
Lots of good information. Always is. A lot more.